AJ here, back on the phone for you guys. We're going to do another episode of 3NN News. That's the 304 News Network, where we look at these 304s acting a damn fool, right? Guys, the orange man's coming for those student loans, man. He is coming for those student loans. And guys, these chicks are cooked. They're cooked. Guys, we all know these 304s have 75% of all the student loan debt, right? Because they were all trying to be strong and independent.
I am woman, hear me roar, in numbers too big to ignore.
And they got degrees in underwater lesbian studies, right? Astronomical non-binary dance. And they haven't been paying student loans for years. Well, now, guys, guess what? They're all getting notices in the mail. And they're going to get that money, man. The government's getting that money. Unemployment, right? Paychecks, garnishment, they're getting got. So, guys, let's check this out, right? There's a whole bunch of news stories about these chicks, right? For the student loans coming. So, guys, we'll get into this. But before we do, like, subscribe, drop a comment. Have a second channel called 50 and 304s. Join my Discord. Check out the playlist at the end. Guys, hit the join button. Hit the link description for a membership. I appreciate all you guys are already members. And let's get into this.
Welcome back at 6:38. Here's a consumer headline for you. In just 24 hours, the Department of Education is restarting involuntary repayment of student federal loans.
Look at
But
that.
there may be some confusion surrounding the collection process. Lily O'Shea Becker spoke with experts to clear up a few things.
If you're confused about the current state of federal student loans, just know you are not alone. I mean, take a look at how many notices pop up when I go to my student loan servicer's website. So I spoke with another student loan borrower and a professional so he could answer some of our questions.
Jeremy Clarkson is a local high school math teacher. He's also a student loan borrower.
And right now I'm trying to figure out, do I even own loans anymore, or is it like, you know, one site isn't reporting something accurately to the other?
There's two websites borrowers should get their information from, studentaid.gov and your loan servicer's website.
But like Jeremy said, there's a lot of different information going around.
Different flexibilities happening, different programs launching, Supreme Court rulings.
Landon Warmond is a certified student loan professional.
Typically, if there's something that's
What
going
does
to
that mean?
impact you directly, they will send you an email or a notice in the mail.
For instance, collections on defaulted student loans will resume on Monday. Either your loan servicer or the federal government should notify you if you've missed a payment for over 270 days. Additionally, court rulings have caused some confusion around
Which is most women, right? Right, guys?
on income-driven repayment plans. If you're repaying under the SAVE plan, it's likely your payments are paused or in forbearance.
On the SAVE forbearance, we're kind of at the whim of our federal government right now on when that's going to end.
Since Jeremy is a
Cooked.
teacher, he's repaying through the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Plan. Conversations to change that plan are happening at the federal level.
I want to know, is this program in potential danger of anything?
Borman says for now, it looks like teachers and government employees would not be impacted by any changes to the Public Service Repayment Plan.
Warman advises to be patient. Don't get lost in any of the proposed changes and wait to be notified if any changes will impact you.
Look at that, guys. Cooked. Cooked, right? You know? On to the next.
Collections on federal student loans and defaults start on Monday. So
There it
this
is.
morning, I am looking into your options if you find yourself in this position and how the change is impacting borrowers across the board. This was Sarah Smith's view. Her daughter snuggled on her lap as she did schoolwork.
I worked 2 jobs and school full-time, kids full-time. Their dad was deployed last year. It was really tough, but when you're determined, you push through.
Smith, who
Please.
lives in Hampton, went back to school to become a counselor and make more money. As she awaits graduation,
As a counselor? You're going to go to school to do all that to become a counselor? You absolute dunderhead.
You stupid woman!
You can make more money working at Costco and have no debt. What are you doing?
Some people are really fucking stupid.
in July, she anticipates student loans.
When you hear 100K, like, that's a big swallow. That's a lot of money.
$100,000.
She now joins the millions of other people with student loan debt, each finding themselves in unique situations.
Damn.
There's a misconception that borrowers don't want to pay, and they do, but they They need those payments to be affordable.
Yeah, borrowers want to pay, please.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
Scott Kemp is a student loan advocate for the State Council of Higher Education for Virginia. He works with a lot of borrowers, some that have applied for a repayment program but are stuck in processing, others that were in default before the pandemic, and borrowers newly in default. The Education Department reports that more than 5 million borrowers are in default, and 4 million more could be in the same position in a few months.
Probably won't hit home until they get the letters.
The forced collections on federal student loans in default starts again after a 5-year reprieve during the pandemic.
Unless they do something, they're going to go back into collections and they're going to go back to Treasury offset, which can include taking tax refunds, garnishing their wages, garnishing Social Security.
So what can you do now? The Department of Education says you have 3 options: repayment, rehabilitation, or consolidation. But first, make sure your loan servicer has your current information.
I mean, I don't think any single borrower has the same loan servicer they had prior to the pandemic.
You can find that information at studentaid.gov, along with a tool that shows repayment plans, interest, and payment length. As you're figuring this out, Kemp tells me,
Document everything that they do, including if they submit something, take a screenshot of it, because if there are issues down the line, it makes it a lot easier for us to work through issues.
While Smith's situation is different, and yours could be too, she says the conversation is helping her decide her path towards paying down debt.
If you just think about it as paying it off quicker and so then you have less interest rate, that's probably the best thing I would do.
But it's so personal. You need to figure out what's right for you in your stage of life and your finances. But folks, this is really just the tip of the iceberg of this conversation on WTKR.com. I'll have more details on how this could impact your future finances, your credit, and the difference between default and forbearance.
All right, guys. And this chick has all this debt, right? And you can imagine she's stressed out, so that her husband has to hear the whole thing, right? Has to hear how hard it is. Oh my God, I have this $100,000 in debt. $100,000 for her to be a therapist. Look at that, guys. So, guys, obviously her husband.
Beta bear.
Come on, dude. Come on, right? Insane. Clown world.
Time's up for student loan borrowers who were late on repayments during a 5-year pause on collections. Between 2021 and 2024, federal student loan debt increased by more than $60 billion a year. The White House.
$60 billion.
Says it will go as far as garnishing people's wages if necessary. Borrowers and economists predict that will have a major impact on consumer spending power. Fox's Connor Hansen reports tonight.
We made an agreement to pay off our loans, and I see it as my responsibility to pay that back.
27-year-old Matthew Costigan is one of...
That's a guy? Come on.
Millions who will miss the government's student loan leniency, which ends on Monday. After 5 years, the Department of Education is resuming collections for those who let late payments stack up.
We've got almost $1.7 trillion in student debt, so we're going to start getting it back.
The government estimates about a quarter of that total debt could be in default. The Trump administration says it's time to roll back Biden-era loan forgiveness policies.
Why should Americans who didn't go to college or went to college and responsibly paid back their loans pay for the student loans of other Americans?
Last fall, delinquent borrowers started to be reported to credit agencies again, seriously impacting their scores. Now the government will be able to start garnishing wages in the most serious cases. Some economists predict the massive collections effort could be a major drag on consumer spending. Costigan tells us he is already making changes to his budget.
When you're looking at an entire generation of people that are sort of crippled by debt and not able to spend any of their discretionary income.
Now, guys, let's just pump the brakes. An entire generation. Guys, the majority of Americans don't go to college. You know what I'm saying? What is this knucklehead talking about, right? What an absolute dunderhead. What are you talking about? A whole generation? Seriously?
Some people are really fucking stupid.
It's kind of a drag on the economy, I think.
According to the Department of Education, only about 40% of around 43 million student loan borrowers are current on payments.
Look at that.
In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
The Trump administration will end federal funding for school mental health. The Department of Education has notified impacted districts that $1 billion in grants.
Blah, blah, blah. But guys, yeah, cooked. Clown world.
Nearly 5 million people across the country have not made payments on their student loans for nearly a year. That's according to the U.S. Department of Education. But starting May 5th, department leaders say they'll start collecting money.
My future goal is to be a professional engineer.
Bethel Kifle is a second year at UNLV, pursuing a degree in mechanical engineering.
I'm glad I chose it.
So far, Kifle tells me she's only taken out one student loan. She says she's relied heavily on scholarships and is paying the rest out of pocket.
I was taking summer classes, and since I couldn't use the fall scholarship yet, I just took out a loan so I don't have to use my personal money because, again, I need it to pay other stuff like bills and stuff. So the loan helped me, like...
I think this chick's like Ethiopian or like Eritrean. You know what I'm saying? That's why she actually majored in something worth a damn. You know, you can kind of tell she's either like Somalian, Eritrean, or Ethiopian, you know?
Get through that summer without like being $0 in my banking account.
And although she won't be required to pay the loan back until after graduation, she already has a plan in place.
The big scholarship I had, I ended up getting like $9,000 refund. So I saved that money just so I can use to pay back for the loan that I took out.
But not everyone is as prepared. According to the U.S. Department of Education, 42.7 million borrowers have more than $1.6 trillion in student debt. Roughly $12.4 billion of that money is owed by Nevadans, according to the Education Data Initiative, and nearly 12% of them are in default.
If you take out a loan, you have to pay it back. It's very simple.
While no loans have been sent to collection since 2020, Trump administration officials announced that will no longer be the case. They say people who don't make a payment plan by the May 5th deadline could face involuntary collections.
The government can and will collect defaulted federal student loan debt by withholding money from borrowers, tax refunds, federal pensions, and even their wages.
Kifla's recommendation for her fellow students is to keep applying for scholarships.
Every semester, I'm still applying to scholarships. Loans should be the very, very last resort.
Now, to check if your student loans are in default or need help with your debt, you can visit studentaid.gov for more information.
Look at this, guys. Now, you might wonder, you know, AJ, why can't all these chicks be like this chick, right? Well, she's like Ethiopian or something, right? Then her parents are probably immigrants, right? So they said, look, you know, don't make all these stupid decisions that all these American B-dubs and all these American Western chicks do, you know? Because she's going to be an engineer and not have any debt. Guys, this is like the 0.1% of women, right? All the rest are cooked. Clown world.
The Trump administration is going to resume debt collections for federal student loan borrowers who have defaulted on their debt. Millions of Americans will be impacted by these collections. And Brian Walsh is the head of advice and planning at SoFi. He's an expert on student loan repayments, and he joins me live to talk about this. Brian, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, I mean, we need to sort through all of this here. These are forced collections on loans that are in debt, right? So in default here. Tell me, is there a threshold for that amount? And what about the students who are not in default? What do they need to know?
Yeah, so there's not a dollar threshold related to being in default. It's those people who haven't made payments on their federal student loans.
AKA women, right, guys?
In more than a year. So they're more than a year past due. Those individuals who have been making payments, they're, up to speed and everything. This announcement on Monday will not have any impact on them, but they should still take the opportunity to really think through the best approach to repaying their student loan debt, given all the changes that have happened over the last couple years.
Okay, so but if a borrower signed up for the Biden era Saving on Valuable Education, the SAVE plan, what do they need to do? What should they be paying attention to?
Yeah, so the SAVE plan is currently in limbo with the courts right now. So anyone who enrolled in the SAVE plan before the most recent court activity is in forbearance. So they don't need to make payments on it until there's resolution in the courts. Those that were not enrolled in the SAVE plan would have options such as other income-driven repayment plans, standard repayments, things like that.
Do you have a sense of how many people we're talking about in this country? And what do you say to the borrowers who are, used to not having to pay these bills, and suddenly they're getting, kind of whacked with this because, as you said,
Put your head between your legs and kiss your butt goodbye.
they've been in limbo and didn't know how to plan and prepare for this.
Yeah, so there's about 5 million borrowers that are currently in default, and there's another 4 million borrowers that are between 3 and 6 months delinquent. So they're at risk of going into default if they don't start making payments on it. As we work with borrowers, I think we walk through, really a 3-step process. Understand your loans. What are your options? Maybe income-driven repayment, extended repayment, refinancing. And then how do we fit this into your overall budget? So that way you can start being proactive about addressing your student loans rather than reactive or ignoring the problem that exists.
I kind of equate this with medical bills that you get, right? You get, invoice after invoice sometimes. You're not sure what insurance covers. What's going to happen to those 5 million Americans who just aren't sure?
Guys, hold on. Wait 1 second, guys. Wait. Let's pump the brakes. You can't equate this to medical bills. Oftentimes, guys, you have medical bills for things that you didn't choose. You get hit by a car, right? You're just walking down the street and all of a sudden, those are medical bills that you have to pay, but you didn't choose to. They chose this, right? And they're also choosing to ignore this too. Come on, man.
And say, I'm going to wait till I hear more before I start sending money off that I don't know if I'm ever going to see, and just because of this confusion. What's going to happen to them?
Yeah, I think it's important for them to realize that federal student loan debt is unlike other types of debt. So the federal government has recourse such as, tapping into tax refunds, government payments like Social Security, wage garnishment. So they have way more power to recoup the money that you owe them than, let's say, a private lender. So it's really important to take this seriously and figure out how you're going to repay your federal student loan debt.
Okay, so how is the Department of Education communicating all this? Because I know that's been a little murky as well.
Yeah, so emails should be coming over the next couple weeks, and they could go through the process for default resolution. Good. They can elect to enroll in income-driven repayment, or they can go into loan rehabilitation, and they'll communicate those options to borrowers that are currently in default status.
All right, so what do you think is going to happen with the SAVE plan? Are the courts going to save it?
I've learned never to try to predict what's going to happen in the courts or by the government. I think it's important to really consider what income-driven repayment plans are out there right now. So you have ICR, IB.
All these income repayment plans, they just make you just pay the interest, right? Guys, us men, you guys are going to get a lot of phone calls from ex-girlfriends, girls who curbed you and dissed you, trying to, move in with you and stuff, because these student loans are going to wreck them. You know what I'm saying?
ICR pay. And those are some great options for people, as well as extended repayment and refinancing.
All right, Brian.
Cooked. Clown world.
On Monday, the Department of Education will begin cracking down on student loan borrowers who defaulted on their loans.
The announcement was made just last week by the Department of Education, and it caught millions of borrowers by surprise.
Look at
Sophia
that.
Flores from NBC7 and Telemundo 20 Responds is here to kind of sort it all out for everybody.
Basically, all these 304s thought that they'd be out of here, still going out and paying $30 for these drinks at these stupid clubs and going on their stupid girl ships, and they'd never have to worry about student loans again. And now they're finally figuring out.
You've been had. You've been took. You've been hoodwinked. Bamboozled. Led astray. Run amok.
Buddy.
Yeah, Catherine and Michelle, what it means is that borrowers with defaulted loans need to really start paying attention and understand all of their options, because doing nothing will likely lead to costly consequences.
Liara, what do you notice? What do you wonder?
Tyler Etchison says the last weeks of school are a mixed bag of emotions for him and his students.
Middle school is right around the corner, and that saying goodbye is always the toughest things. We're going to write down what we notice and what we wonder.
And as he struggles to bid farewell to this year's students, he's more than happy to be a year closer to getting rid of the school loan he's been paying for the last 12 years.
I'm getting close, but it's still one of those things where it's this looming, debt over your head.
A roller coaster process, as he calls it, that saw him default on his loan in the early years, which he says can easily happen to any borrower.
Because as students, first starting off in your career.
Dude, you notice how all the guys that they show on this that are talking about student loans, right, are all beta male. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God, guys, I'm paying my loans. Beta.
Career or trying to find your career, we don't have a rainy day fund that, if something goes wrong, we can fall back on. So in my case, my car broke down.
I don't know. So Tyler sympathizes with the estimated 5 million borrowers who will again be in collection proceedings starting on Monday, picking up where they left off in 2020. That's when the government paused collections because of the pandemic.
The danger with this is that many borrowers either thought they had their loans forgiven, they just forgot about it. And with everything else that's going on right now, it's financially people struggling.
Selena Damian is with the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, which offers resources and guidance to borrowers. She urges anyone with a defaulted loan not to sit on their hands because the U.S. Department of Education will take action against them, like going after tax refunds, imposing wage garnishments, or even grabbing a percentage of Social Security payments.
They can do that whether or not you say, I didn't receive the email, I didn't know. I didn't know for federal wage garnishments is not an excuse.
So here are your options if you're in default, think you might be, or just don't know. First, go to studentaid.gov for the exact status of your loan.
Because you could be in forbearance, deferment, which is a payment pause, but that doesn't mean you're in default.
If you are in default, contact the U.S. Department of Education Default Resolution Group and either start making payments, sign up for loan rehabilitation, or enroll in an income-driven repayment plan.
Maybe this represents how much.
This last option helped Tyler get back on track years ago.
Which has been a blessing because it's allowed me to do other things with my life. Cubes here, you're like.
Well, you should have been paying your loans off, you moron.
Okay, so according to the Department of Education, some 4 million borrowers are also about 3 months away from defaulting. So again, be proactive and don't just wait for the Department of Education to get a hold of you, especially if you've had a change of name or address since you last had contact with them.
Okay, good advice. Thank you, sir.
You got it.
And if you have
Cooked, guys, cooked. I'm gonna do a follow-up in like a week or two, guys, when you actually see these people's checks getting garnished, right? Because I don't feel bad for them. They asked for this, right? They asked for this. All these chicks thought that that they're gonna outdo us men, because guys, we've talked about the education gap, right? Oh, we're getting more degrees than these men, ha ha ha, right? Well, now that these student loans are becoming due, guess what, guys?
The night is dark and full of terror.
The night is dark and full of terrors. All right, you guys, this is AJ. I appreciate you guys. Like, subscribe, guys. I'm out of here. Have a good one.